can cook that. I like my food strange and unusual because I myself am strange and unusual. Also, be sure to subscribe to keep your feed fed and let the algorithm know you want to consume my content. Literally. We'll start with room temperature cream cheese. This will make the base for our cheeseball arm. To this, we'll add in room temperature shredded horseradish cheddar and mozzarella cheese. Then we'll toss in lump crab meat, minced celery, chopped chives, liquid smoke, lemon juice, and a dash of hot sauce. We want to mix it all together until it's well combined. If the cheeses are room temperature, it makes combining everything with a hand mixer super easy. Be sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl to ensure the ingredients don't get stuck to the sides as you mix and don't get blended in well. Continue to mix while scraping down the sides every so often until the mixture is nice and creamy. We'll then take our crab and cheese mixture and transfer it to a sheet of parchment paper. I'm just keeping the entire thing together while it chills. Wrap it up tightly with the parchment so that it forms a log shape, then pop it into the fridge to chill fully for at least 8 to 10 hours. I'm going to be making 2 of these arms, so my cheese log is extra long. Surely there's a better way to say that, but I'm not gonna. While the cheese log chills, we can move on to making the exoskeleton shell for our lobster arm. I'm using wonton wrappers and then cutting them into circles. You want just enough to cover over what will be the forearm of our cheese ball. First, use a little bit of water to glue the wonton circles together with about a ½ inch to 1 inch of overlap. I find it works best to add water to the top and back so both sides stick together. Just make sure not to add too much water because if the wontons are too wet, they won't crisp up well. Once we have the wontons lined up and glued together, we'll give them a light spritz of cooking oil. Then, to get the red color, we will want to use an oil-based food dye. Water-based dyes will add too much liquid to the surface of the wonton. By using an oil-based food coloring, we'll be able to use the oil sprayed on the surface to spread the color out evenly without oversaturating the wrapper. After adding a bit of food coloring directly onto the wontons, I'm going to use a clean makeup sponge to spread the coloring around so that there's a line down the middle of the shell. Don't worry about making details here as the shells will bubble up as they bake, creating the detail of the lobster shell for you. Just wait, you'll see. To bake the wontons, I rolled up foil into the relative size and shape that we'll be making the arms. It's better to make the wontons bigger than you plan to make the arm because they will shrink as they bake. Gently lift the strip of wontons off the working surface and drape it over the foil so that it sort of looks like a limp lobster tail. Finally, we'll pop it into the oven to bake it for a few minutes. You really only need a few minutes before the shell will start to crisp up. So make sure to keep a close eye on it while it bakes to prevent burning. Once baked, it should look a little something like this. We'll set that aside for now until we're ready to start assembling. Now, when it comes to assembling, you want to make sure that the cheese is kept very cold. Again, I'm making 2 arms for a party, so I'm going to slice my cheese log in half so I can chill the other half while I work on each arm individually. I'm then using a parfait glass with a heavy bottom to make the base for our vertical cheese ball. Shape the cheese into the relative shape you plan to make the arm and then place it into the dish you plan to serve it in. The parfait glass is perfect for keeping the arm elevated in the bowl I'm planning to serve it in. It'll also make the cheese stick to the bottom of the glass and make it easier to secure in an upright position. Next, I'm using some bamboo skewers that will not only help maintain the shape, but these skewers will also help secure our shrimp fingers in place. I did 3 long skewers and then 2 shorter ones for the pinky and thumb. Once again, we want to keep the cheese mixture really cold during the assembly process, so I'm going to pop it back into the fridge while we prep the shrimp. I'm using jumbo cocktail shrimp. These are a little bit bigger than your traditional shrimp, and that makes them the perfect shrimp to make our fingers. I want to articulate them a little bit so they don't have so much of a curl, so I'm simply cutting little slices into the underside of each shrimp so that they'll lay flat and make it easier to work with them. At last, it's time to pull it all together. First, I'm using another bamboo skewer to create a sort of ribbing to the forearm. This will help the cheese settle as it comes to room temperature and should help keep it upright. Then we'll take our shrimp fingers and start skewering them onto the bones sticking out of our arm. You might need to pinch off a portion of each of the shrimps so that each one is the correct finger size. Once the shrimp are all secured in place, it starts to look super cool and actually already kind of looks pretty convincing that it could be from the movie. Next, we'll grab the wonton lobster shell and glue it onto the back of the arm with some Japanese mayonnaise. You might need to reshape the arm a bit for it to fit perfectly into the shell. Just do this very gently as you don't want to crack the shell at this stage. This is a shrimp cocktail after all, so we'll of course need some cocktail sauce. I put the cocktail sauce into a piping bag, but you can use a regular plastic bag with the corner snipped off. Pipe the cocktail sauce around the base of the arm so it looks a bit like blood. Finally, we'll start artfully assembling our lobster arm cocktail. Add some crackers for serving, and don't forget a bit of Lydia's stepmom's weird art to complete the plating. This shrimp is best served before a seance. Just make sure Beetlejuice isn't invited. Otherwise, this dish makes for quite an otherworldly experience. What fictional feast should I make next? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this recipe, don't forget to flip that sub button and ring the dinner bell so you can be notified of my latest recipes and foodie adventures that I post every week. Do you ever get hungry? You can find this recipe and many more with ingredient amounts and step-by-step instructions over on thestarvingchefblog.com. I hope you all enjoyed and have a happy Halloween.